Yeah,
see it.
brilliant. Okay, super. So we're going to cover a couple of areas. Now, I appreciate we've only got 30 minutes, so we're going to go quite quickly. The intention here is not necessarily to make you guys all Copilot experts. It's really just to give you a high-level overview of its capabilities and how to create content with it. But we can go into more detail. So if anything we show you guys sort of piques your interest, let us know, and we can certainly go into a bit more detail about that. So the agenda we've got for you today is, first of all, what is Copilot? Some of the benefits. Talk about security and privacy, because I know everyone's concerned with regard to AI about how secure it is. We're going to do a live demonstration, which is always a bit scary in these sort of presentations. So hopefully that will all go smoothly. Then we'll talk a bit about what next steps might look like. Now, just before we jump in, a little bit of audience participation. What would be really useful is just to get an idea of how many of you guys are using AI in your organizations at the moment. So hopefully a very simple survey has just popped up. I'd just like to know whether I'm presenting to a whole room full of experts first, and I'm pleased to see what we sort of expected is, not a huge amount at the moment. Great, which means we can only make things better, which is brilliant. So thank you for that. That's very useful to know. Let me just close this off. I'm assuming my screen is still shared.
No, you'll need to reshare, I think.
Is it? Okay, 1 second. We'll be moving to using, is that reshared?
Not yet for me.
Sorry guys, it's, here we go. Share. We're moving to Teams webinar for the next webinar session. We're using Click Meeting at the moment because the Teams didn't have exactly what we needed, but they've recently introduced it, so we'll make life a little easier. Okay, is that screen sharing now?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. So first of all, just a little bit of a sort of intro slide, just to sort of show how big this area of AI is coming. I mean, you will have all heard things about on the news in it, but currently the AI market in the UK is worth 16 billion. Now that's planned to grow to over 800 billion in just over 10 years. So a huge amount of growth in that area. And when I show you a bit more about Copilot, I think you'll appreciate why there is so much investment going into AI. I mean, if you guys were in any doubt as to why AI is such a useful area, we've put a couple of quotes on here. So, there's a huge explosion of AI-specific organizations now in the UK. Around 1 in 6 UK organizations now are embracing at least one AI technology, and obviously that will grow significantly. Marks and Spencers have made huge reductions by using computer vision. And I think what's so exciting about Copilot in particular is the ease in which you can start benefiting from AI within your own organizations. Now, there's obviously 2 ways in which you can embrace AI in your companies. The one we're talking about now, which is very much empower workers, which is where Copilot comes in. And obviously, if you guys are anything like me, there's huge amounts of documentation in your organization. Most of it's unstructured. And how do you really leverage that? And that's really why Copilot is so exciting. And then the slightly more trickier area is using AI to accelerate the business. And what we've put there is some sort of examples. So that's really where your business processes are talking to other AI systems. But let's give you an idea of exactly what Copilot is. John?
Yeah, sure. So Copilot is a large language model. You might have heard that before. So it's based on ChatGPT. So it's able to create content based on looking at the data that it's using to create those answers. And now CoPilot, it's great for drafting emails, creating presentations, summarizing emails, and creating task lists. And all this obviously gives you better productivity. You can really hand off tasks which were really laborious or adding to your load for the day to CoPilot to make you more efficient. It also saves costs. You can be more efficient, so staff can do more and they can concentrate on the more higher value tasks. Things that require humans to understand and reason through. It's great for content creation, marketing, and any sales documents, training documents, things that obviously historically are time consuming and require you to reference a lot of material. It's great at pulling through all that information, and it's really good for collaborating, so making sharing information with each other, catching up on meetings, and creating workflows that were traditionally done manually. In terms of the privacy, that is a massive concern, obviously, with AI. So we thought we'd just describe how this works. Obviously, CoPilot is using a large language model. That's a fixed model that they've trained, and then the CoPilot gives it access to your Microsoft 365 data and the Microsoft Graph, and so both of those components are done securely. And the way the security works is that the CoPilot that's associated with your account only has access to what you have access to. So if you have a SharePoint library that has lots of no permissions on it, for example, then you'll have access to everything. But if you have a good data permission structure, which most organizations do, then it only will be able to reference the data that you have access to yourself. So that does allay quite a lot of the fears around it. Now, there's another point that keeps on coming up, obviously, is about copyright. AI is generating content. So what Microsoft have done is they've put their copyright indemnity and aligned it to CoPilot. Now, there are some stringent rules around that in terms of you can't try and make it copy branding from other organizations and stuff like that, but it's in their legal terms and conditions. But essentially, you are covered by Microsoft's indemnity on that.
Great, thank you, John. So let's look a little bit about how we talk to CoPilot. So we're going to take an example of creating content with CoPilot. Now, talking to AI, for those of you that have played with ChatGPT, is very much like talking to a person. So what do we do about building a prompt? Now, the way we should look at the prompt, there's various different aspects we should consider, which will give you the best output. So first of all, we want to specify to the AI what the time or length is. So the output, should it be 3 pages, 10 slides, 10 minutes of content? Then, so you can see at the bottom an example. So create a slide. So that might be how we start our prompt. What format do we want it in? Do we want the output as a document, a presentation, email, social post for those marketeers, slides, bullet points? These are just examples of some of the possibilities. So we're going to say create a slide, a single slide, and then the audience, community members, non-technical business users. So you can see us building the prompt at the bottom. So create a single slide for non-technical business users, explaining EBITDA. So that's going to be the focus topic we want the AI to talk about. I mean, we could put anything in there. EBITDA is more of a finance term, but I thought it might give a nice summary. And then lastly, who do we want it to be writing as, which is sort of quite an interesting aspect to it. So there's our prompt. Now we can put something else in there, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop out of PowerPoint, but I'm hoping I'm sharing my desktop so you guys can see that. John, just let me know if something goes
you're all good.
Skew. So you can see within the Microsoft suite now, you get, if you've got this CoPilot subscription, you get this icon at the top which says CoPilot. You click on that, and effectively it's like a chat window, but you're not chatting to another person, you're chatting to AI. So I want to add to this presentation a single slide talking about EBITDA for non-technical users. Now you can see what it will tend to do is add the slide at the top. So there's nothing there at the moment. So I type in my, you can talk to it as well, but my mic is tied to this webinar, so which does look a little bit Star Trek-y. So I'm going to type that in. And you can see now the benefit of CoPilot, especially the one for the business, is it has access to all your files. So if I was to type something in here, and we will do an example to show you how this works, that requires reference to any of my emails, any of the documents I've written, Word or PowerPoint, it will find those and it will create that as well. So you can see now within about 2 seconds, it's created a relatively good slide giving you an overview of EBITDA. Obviously, when I said as Wavex, it's sort of slightly cheated and said the Wavex way. And it's introduced pictures as well. Now I can go back to it and say, change the picture. I can tell it, make the slide more lively. It can introduce animations as well as long as they're in the libraries that it uses for images. So you can see very quickly something that might have taken me 10, 20 minutes, it's going to do in seconds. So let me show you a few other examples of how this works. So now I'm going to use, obviously, something pertinent to us. Oops, wait a second, not my emails. Where's Word?
Just type Word in the search box.
Oh, thanks, John. That helps me. I do use Word in my job. So now when I start Word, again, I get the CoPilot icon and it's saying to me, what do I want to write about? Any topic I want, anything from the business, anything outside of the business. Now we're just about to launch a new risk management platform. I know it sounds a bit techie, apologies, but this will encourage it to use all the documentation we already have. So if you remember the prompts, I'm saying create a 3-page document for client about the new CIS-aligned IT risk management platform. A lot of techie stuff in there. Click it to go and generate that. It's always a bit nerve-wracking doing it live. Obviously, CoPilot's still new, so there are still a few little bugs in it. And now you can see from basically looking at all the other documentation that we've created, it understands what all of the different acronyms mean. And let me just show you my hand so you know I'm not typing at ridiculous speed. It is now going away and it is creating this document for me. Now, obviously, this is amazing for marketeers. You can write about any topic relating to the business, copy, paste, bang, there's your social posts. But any other content creators in the organization can benefit hugely from this. Now you can take it a step further because obviously I might now want to produce a presentation from this document. So let me just wait until it finishes. Okay, conclusion, that's good. It's done a pretty good job. It's not 3 pages, but it's obviously felt that's long enough to meet my brief. You know, it's almost good to go. So now what I can do, I can go back into PowerPoint. Let me just create a new PowerPoint document. Now, one thing you do need to remember to get the best out of this, you're probably going to need your marketing department or designers to develop CoPilot friendly templates. So you can see here, for those of you in the understand PowerPoint, under View Slide Master gives you different layouts. And what CoPilot does, it looks for combinations of slide masters. So it will say, I need a slide master that's got a picture and a chunk of text and a heading, or 2 pictures, or 2 chunks of text. And it will use that to build out its presentation. So again, I go back into CoPilot. I now say, create a presentation from, and now I reference my IT risk management document. And off it goes. It will now look at this Word document Now, it predominantly uses Microsoft formats like Word. So if you've got a PDF that you need it to use as a data source, you'll have to convert that into Word. Now you can see here it's telling me these are the topics it's going to add into the presentation based on the Word document. Drum roll. It's almost there. Let's see what sort of job it's done. You'll notice it's now adding the speaker notes. And here we go. Wavex IT Risk Management Platform presentation finished. Probably needs a bit of tidying up. You can see the sections it's added in. I mean, you can see why this sort of technology is a game changer for businesses. You know, I'm not saying this presentation is perfect, but if someone produced this as their first draft, you'd be pretty impressed. And the fact that it's taken no more than 2 minutes is really impressive. And this is really why we're encouraging businesses to look seriously at this competition, because those companies that work out how to leverage this, it provides them a huge competitive advantage. Right, let's just jump back into our presentation. It's worth noting it makes amazing notes within team sessions as well. Now, because we're in Click Meeting, I can't demonstrate that. When we do the next CoPilot one, we'll be in Teams webinars and then we can demonstrate it. But the quality of the output is as if you've got a very competent PA taking notes of everything, and it lists out full summaries and even the actions, and future releases will actually create actions automatically for you. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
On the back of that, sorry, just there was a question about does it work with media types? So Microsoft 365 Copilot is looking at your data that's in the environment, and it's primarily a text-based service. So audio would have to be transcribed. So there are in Azure, there's audio transcription services which can transcribe audio. So you'd need to create that, or you'd need to use that service, and then you'd be able to save those transcriptions, and then Copilot would then be able to would be able to then create those articles for you. Just to answer that question.
Yeah, that's really useful. Now, if you guys are like me and you're thinking, well, how do we sort of get into this? So what we've done at very high level, this is how you should start thinking about AI. Now, obviously, there's a limit to what we can cover in the 30 minutes, but what we've shown you is really the first step into AI. So this chart represents how your organization might evolve as you embrace more sort of AI solutions. So you can see across the bottom, you've got level of investment, and across the left, you've got the scope of the deployment of AI. So obviously, CoPilot provides a relatively simple initial step into the world of AI, because you're empowering staff, you're giving them additional tools so they can leverage the information that's already within your organization. But as you develop further, then you start looking at your business processes, sales processes, marketing processes. You know, how can AI help? And obviously, as the scope increases, then obviously more time and effort is required to deploy these tools, so the cost does go up. But obviously, you're not going to invest in solutions that aren't going to give you a return. So there's many repetitive activities and many content creating activities that occur in most businesses that AI can seriously help in. Then you get to the point where AI has access to critical information and you can start using it to do quality checks, assessments. And then the sort of the nirvana of it is the sort of Amazons of this world, although you don't need to be at that size, where you have AI making decision making, looking at key metrics, potentially alerting you when things happen, doing various assessments. Obviously, its use is sort of profound in IT. It's so helpful for things like security, where there's huge amounts of data sets, and it can get in there and look for unusual trends. Now, every organization now creates data. So it is important that there is some sort of strategy that helps you on this journey going forward. But let's spend a few minutes just talking about our approach when it comes to AI.
So I think it's important to, when you're using CoPilot, is to do the preparation work in advance. I touched on previously about the security and the requirements for the organization. So you need to assess who will use CoPilot. What do you feel that you would benefit from in terms of what use cases could you apply it to, and setting some goals of what you'd like to achieve around CoPilot. Now, the environment, it's important to configure so that the data it's using is useful. So obviously we touched on the permissions, so you need to make sure that there's permissions in place so that the finance data, the payroll spreadsheet isn't referenced, so people can't ask what's the CEO's salary, etc. It's important to have good data hygiene. If you have lots of documents and they're all really old and the data in them's not relevant anymore, the answers that you get back might be incorrect. So unless you obviously explicitly specify a particular file, it will go and have a look at what you've got there. And also you need to make sure that you've got the correct licensing. So for CoPilot, now they used to be a 300 user minimum users, but they've removed that now. But you do need to have either an M365 Business Premium license, an M365 E3 license, or an M365 E5 license. And the add-on itself is £24.70 RRP. So that's a month, and then that's on an annual commitment. So they're not giving it away for free, and you have to sign up for a year. So you're probably best trialing it within the organization with a small set of users who can then learn from that and try and trial the different processes involved.
And it's
But
worth
also
saying, I think, John, that not every user needs the license. So even if your organization has 100 staff, your marketing team might have 3 staff, and they might be the ones that mostly benefit from this. So you'd only need 3 licenses.
And then it's important to put policies and procedures in place for who can use it, and the rules of engagement. You obviously don't want to use this in an immoral way. There is morals built into the large language model. You can't tell it to tell you to do something illegal, or so it has ethics, but it's important to make sure that people use it in the correct way. Maybe you don't want people to use it on confidential information, etc., like that, something like that. And then train the staff. So train your staff to ensure that they can really they can maximize the functionality, and they're aware of the features that are available. Obviously, it's a kind of open-ended book, so creativity in the prompts and things like that will maximize those results. So making sure people are trained on it is important, and then making sure people are using it. You don't want to invest in some technology and make sure that and then you find that your staff aren't using it, or it's not working for them. So having a center of excellence and adoption, we can assist in ensuring there is great adoption within the environment. So in terms of next steps, if you want us to help with this, we can help you through the journey with CoPilot and the adoption, creating business use cases, spending time with you in the different departments, and how you operate, and we can then give you some guidance about how it will benefit you. A maturity assessment of the environment, will help you through with the permissions audit, any data hygiene that you might need to do, and any data security policies around it. There are some more advanced things you can do about data security and tagging, but I think we'd leave that for a separate webinar. Providing you with a gap analysis of where you are now and where you want to get to, so you have an idea of that roadmap. And just for fun, the image on the right here is just an AI generated image that I created just to give a prompt for a business leading another business through the AI journey.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. 4 minutes to go. Any questions from anyone that they haven't raised?
In terms of the answer, Graham, about the Copilot, when you enable the license, it takes a little while for it to show up in your office environment. So if you buy it, it takes about 72 hours for it to show up in the office applications, and you need to have the correct version of Office installed. So sometimes people have a home version or something like that. You need to make sure that you've got the enterprise version of the apps. But you do have access to the CoPilot portal. It looks very similar to the CoPilot portal that's available for free for the web, except it gives you a tab which is for your work environment, which gives you different answers to the questions which are referencing your environment.
I think we've got another question that's popped in.
Yeah. So, yep, hallucinations are a thing. If you're not aware what a hallucination is, a hallucination is when an AI will give you an incorrect answer to a question, and it will say it quite confidently. It's important to make sure that when you're creating content that you are checking the content, reading it through, making sure that it's relevant. Hallucinations are more likely to occur if there is old data in there. You know, when I've been using it personally, I do make sure that everything I put in terms of any quantitative data is accurate, because you know it can reference a lot of things.
And this is another reason why policies are so important, because it's important managers know when they're reviewing AI generated content, because it doesn't sort of make typos and the structure will be fine. Whereas from a member of staff, you might glance over something and think, oh, this needs a bit more work. AI will look perfect, but it will be factually wrong in a couple of areas. So it's important that staff understand that they need to declare their use of AI. So managers know that they're going to have to go through it in a bit more detail to make sure that what's getting sent out is accurate.
So a couple more questions. The environment is the Microsoft 365 environment. So if you have data that's not in Microsoft 365, it won't be referencing that. So if you have a file server, for example, on premises, that data at the moment is not referenced. Now, Copilot Microsoft are bringing a load of plugins so that you can add other applications in, so it can reference other data. But at the moment, really, it's focused on the Microsoft 365 environment. In terms of who it's geared towards, I believe it has use cases throughout the business. Content creation, obviously, marketing is a lot more stronger for those. You know, out the box, it's the most simple thing it can do. It can create content for you. But I feel like accessibility, you know, with Teams, being able to catch up on meetings. If anybody's working asynchronously, you know, if you've got people who are part-time who are missing meetings, or if they've got special requirements that mean they can't join meetings, summarizing of data, you know, creating action task lists, you know, project management is fantastic. It will be fantastic for. So there are a lot of use cases for it, I think. You know, we've just touched on the Copilot side of things, but automating business processes, you know, getting people to for accounts, you know, for approval processes, creating lots of content or automating those procedures is a really powerful tool.
It's like almost having another member of staff for £27 a month. It really can. Anything you send to it, it can add value to, as long as you plug in the right inputs. In Power BI and data analysis. We can certainly help start you off, Steve, on that journey. I mean, Power BI normally requires more development capabilities, and we do have partners that we work with that specialize in developing those dashboards and things in Power BI. Great, guys. Well, thank you for being so engaging. I can see someone else is typing. We'll see if we can quickly answer, but that's the 30 minutes over. I hope you've all found it interesting and we've sort of whet your appetite for things AI. We're always keen to get feedback as well. So if there's areas that you felt you would have liked us to spend a bit more time on, please let us know, and we can factor that in to a future webinar. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time. Hope we didn't interrupt your lunch too much, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Cheers, guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye.